It is the coldest, most isolated place on Earth. Twice the size of Australia, larger than all of Europe, and holding 90% of the world's ice, Antarctica remains one of the least explored places on the planet. But buried beneath its endless ice lie structures, fossils, and clues that could rewrite what we know about Earth's history and challenge our understanding of the ancient world. I've spent months researching Antarctica, going through scientific papers, declassified documents, and satellite imagery. What I found isn't just about ice and penguins. It's about pyramid-shaped mountains, ancient forests preserved beneath glaciers, secret military operations, and discoveries so strange they've been deliberately kept from public view. Before we dive in, I want to hear from you. Have you ever looked at satellite images and seen something that just didn't make sense? Something that seemed too perfect, too geometric to be natural? Drop a comment, because what we're about to explore will challenge everything you think you know about Earth's most mysterious continent. This is Antarctica, a land of endless ice, forbidden zones, and secrets that may redefine human history itself. In 2016, satellite images taken over the Ellsworth Mountains sparked a wave of curiosity. Hidden among the snow and ice, one peak stood out, a mountain with 4 sharp faces and a pointed top. From above, it looked strikingly like the pyramids of Giza. This pyramid-shaped formation is located in the southern part of the Ellsworth Mountains, not far from the Patriot Hills research base. It stands around 4,150 feet tall and is clearly visible from aerial views. Geologists who've studied the region explain that what looks like a pyramid is most likely a nunatak, a peak that sticks out above the ice. Over millions of years, strong winds, freezing temperatures, and cycles of thawing and refreezing have carved its faces into sharp triangular shapes. This type of erosion, called freeze-thaw weathering, is common in cold regions and can create surprisingly regular shapes in stone. Similar pyramid-like peaks exist in places like the Swiss Alps, the famous Matterhorn being the most recognizable example. But here's what makes the Antarctic pyramid unusual. Most natural peaks with triangular sides have just 1 or 2 flat faces. This mountain appears to have 4, giving it a near-perfect geometric form. That's why some researchers and independent theorists believe it could be more than just a mountain. They suggest the formation might have once been a human-made structure, possibly a pyramid, now buried under thick layers of ice. These ideas become even more interesting when compared to ancient pyramids in other parts of the world. The pyramids in Egypt, Mexico, and Peru all share similar designs: wide bases, sloping sides, and strong alignment with cardinal directions. Some believe this pattern shows a shared understanding of architecture, possibly passed down from a single older source. A similar theory surrounds the Bosnian pyramids, where some believe large hills may be hiding the remains of stepped pyramids built in prehistoric times. Though mainstream archaeologists reject these claims, supporters point to smooth slopes and aligned corners as possible signs of artificial design. The same arguments are now being applied to parts of the Ellsworth Mountains. Observers claim that some nearby ridges and snow-covered hills may also hide pyramid-like shapes. On satellite images, several peaks appear to have near-symmetrical lines and square bases. What makes the Antarctic formation so difficult to investigate is access. The continent is covered by a massive sheet of ice, more than a mile thick in some areas. Only a small portion of land is visible from the surface. Harsh weather, remote location, and international regulations make large-scale exploration nearly impossible. That's why the full story behind these formations remains hidden. In recent years, satellite technology has revealed more strange features scattered across Antarctica's icy surface. Among them are large dark shapes resembling doorways carved into mountain slopes, and even patterns that look like man-made stairs. One of the most talked about formations appears near a remote area of East Antarctica. There, a large rectangular opening is clearly visible, positioned along a rock face surrounded by thick layers of snow and ice. The shape of the opening is unusually clean and geometric, with sharp lines that make it appear different from the surrounding natural landscape. The structure stands out due to its symmetry, straight edges, and shadowed interior. Some have estimated that this doorway is several meters tall and wide, large enough to allow entry of a full-sized aircraft. Experts in glaciology offer natural explanations. They believe such openings could be formed by the gradual movement of ice around rock formations, combined with strong winds and temperature changes. Over time, melting and refreezing can create gaps in the ice. When snow shifts, these gaps may take on geometric appearances. Other scientists suggest the supposed doorway may simply be the top of a ridge exposed as ice levels lowered due to melting. Another puzzling discovery is found on one of the southernmost islands near the Antarctic coast. A wide cave entrance was recorded, positioned at the base of a snow-covered mountain. The dark interior makes it impossible to see what lies inside, but what surrounds the entrance is even more curious. At the base of the slope, several dark horizontal lines are visible. They run parallel to each other and rise gradually, creating the appearance of a staircase leading into the mountain. This stair-like formation is difficult to explain by current geological models. The natural layering of snow or rock doesn't usually create such clean, step-like platforms. Some have speculated these shapes could be the result of ancient collapses or uneven melting patterns. However, their even spacing and straight design suggest a more complex origin. What adds to the mystery is how some of these features seem to change over time. In some years, the openings and steps are clearly visible. In others, they vanish beneath new layers of snow. Then, after strong winds or seasonal shifts, they reappear, sometimes with different shapes or added detail. But in the distant past, Antarctica was not the frozen desert we know today. Long before it became a land of endless ice and howling winds, this continent may have been a place of forests, rivers, and life. For more than a century, geologists and paleobotanists have uncovered fossilized remains of forests buried deep beneath Antarctica's icy crust. In the Beardmore Glacier region, just 500 kilometers from the South Pole, members of Robert Falcon Scott's 1912 expedition discovered leaves resembling those of beech trees. Further south, on Alexander Island and the Antarctic Peninsula, researchers found upright, fossilized trees still rooted in the soil they once thrived in. Some of these trees, now stone, stood as tall as 7 meters. Around them lay layers of ancient pollen, leaves, and organic remains of a lush, temperate rainforest that existed 100 million years ago. These forests were part of a larger landscape that included meandering rivers, wetlands, and coastal plains. Despite the continent's location near the South Pole, the global climate at the time was dramatically warmer. The fossilized flora suggest temperatures in the range of 13 to 21 degrees Celsius, with no long winters of freezing cold. Recent drilling beneath the ice has confirmed what these surface fossils began to suggest. A team from Rice University uncovered ancient pollen deep within sediment layers off the coast of the Antarctic Peninsula. Their findings show the area was covered in tundra as recently as 12 million years ago. This evidence paints a clear picture. Antarctica's transformation into a frozen wasteland did not happen overnight. It was gradual, and some areas remained ice-free far longer than previously thought. This history leads to a compelling question. Could there have been enough time and favorable conditions for early human or pre-human civilizations to exist on this continent? Mainstream archaeology strongly rejects this idea. The current scientific consensus is that Homo sapiens have only existed for about 300,000 years, and Antarctic ice sheets have been in place for far longer, more than 14 million years based on the oldest known samples. And yet, isolated reports and controversial discoveries continue to stir debate. One of the most enduring symbols tied to the idea of ancient knowledge about Antarctica is the Piri race map. Created in 1513 by Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis, this partial world map includes a detailed depiction of South America and a mysterious southern landmass. What makes the map extraordinary is that it appears to show the outline of a continent in the location of Antarctica, not with its present icy shape, but with a coastline resembling its actual landmass as if seen without ice. Supporters of the theory claim that such accuracy would have been impossible in the 16th century without access to much older source maps. The Piri race map, according to this view, may have been compiled using documents from a lost civilization with advanced knowledge of geography and exploration. This idea was popularized by historian Charles Hapgood, who argued that a prehistoric seafaring culture mapped the world's coastlines, including a then ice-free Antarctica, thousands of years before modern history began. Hapgood's theories, while widely criticized in academic circles, gained traction in popular culture. He suggested the Piri race map might reflect Antarctica as it looked during the last ice age, possibly around 10,000 to 4,000 BC, a time when he believed parts of the continent could have been free of ice. For many, the accuracy of the South American coastline on the Piri race map is undeniable for its time. The presence of a large southern landmass, whether real or theoretical, reflects an early belief in Terra Australis, the unknown southern continent. Though later explorers would confirm Antarctica's existence, the question of how ancient cartographers envisioned it and how they may have interpreted older sources remains a mystery. Adding to the intrigue, modern imaging technology has recently revealed vast ancient landscapes beneath Antarctica's thick ice cover. In East Antarctica, scientists use satellite data and ice-penetrating radar to map a region of buried valleys and ridges the size of Belgium. This landscape, once shaped by rivers and weather, remained untouched for at least 14 million years. It resembles the terrain of Northern Europe, with hills, plateaus, and interconnected waterways. Researchers suggest this ancient landscape may have once supported vegetation and perhaps even wildlife during warmer periods of Earth's history. Antarctica hides many secrets beneath its ice. One of them is its subglacial lakes, hidden bodies of water trapped far below the surface. isolated from the outside world by kilometers of solid ice. Among them, the most famous is Lake Vostok. This vast freshwater lake is buried nearly 4,000 meters beneath the East Antarctic ice sheet. Lake Vostok has been sealed off for possibly 15 to 25 million years. In this extreme and lightless world, scientists believe life may still exist. It's one of the most remote and mysterious environments ever studied on Earth. When Russian scientists finally reached the surface of the lake in 2012, after drilling for over a decade, they broke through to a world that had not been touched by air or light since long before humans walked the planet. Lake Vostok is not alone. More than 400 subglacial lakes have now been identified across the continent. Some are as large as cities. Others are small and temporary, filling and draining like unseen reservoirs beneath the ice. These lakes are kept liquid not by the sun, but by heat from Earth's interior and the insulating pressure of the ice above. They're connected by an underground network of subglacial rivers, creating what some scientists call a frozen wetland. In recent years, expeditions have reached a few of these lakes. Lake Mercer, located beneath the West Antarctic ice sheet, revealed something extraordinary. In complete darkness and under immense pressure, scientists discovered an ecosystem filled with bacterial life. Despite the lack of sunlight, oxygen, and surface nutrients, these microorganisms were not only alive, but thriving. Even more astonishing was the discovery of Lake Enigma. This ice-covered lake has strange structures and rich microbial mats that look like carpets and tree-like formations on the lakebed. These ecosystems include bacteria that had never been seen in such environments before. In other places, as ice shelves crack and collapse, scientists have observed parts of the seafloor hidden for centuries. One such event exposed an ecosystem beneath the George VI ice shelf. In an area covered by ice for possibly hundreds of years, researchers found large corals, giant sea spiders, fish, octopuses, and other animals thriving in complete darkness. The size and age of these creatures suggest they had lived there for decades, undisturbed, relying on nutrient flows carried by deep ocean currents. One of the things no scientist expected to see in the white expanse of snow and ice is a bright red waterfall, deep in the McMurdo dry valleys of Antarctica. This is exactly what flows from the front of the Taylor Glacier. Known as Blood Falls, this vivid and surreal feature is one of the strangest natural phenomena on the frozen continent. At first glance, Blood Falls looks like something out of science fiction, as though the glacier itself is bleeding. The waterfall stands 5 stories high, and its deep red hue appears to stain the surrounding ice like an open wound. The scientific explanation is as fascinating as its appearance. More than 5 million years ago, this area was submerged by the ocean. When the sea retreated, pockets of salty water were left behind and eventually sealed under layers of ice. Trapped beneath 400 meters of glacier, this ancient lake became cut off from atmosphere, light, and oxygen. Over time, the water grew saltier and more concentrated with iron and other minerals from surrounding rock. Today, pressure beneath the glacier pushes this iron-rich, highly saline water through a fissure in the ice. When it reaches the surface and is exposed to oxygen in the air, the iron oxidizes in a process similar to rusting and turns deep red. But the story doesn't end with chemistry. Hidden within its iron-rich waters is an isolated ecosystem of microscopic life. scientists have discovered extremophile microorganisms that survive in complete darkness and without oxygen, feeding instead on iron and sulfur. These microbes have evolved in extreme isolation, offering rare insight into how life can exist in the harshest environments on Earth, and possibly in similar conditions on icy worlds like Europa or Enceladus. Beyond the glaciers and subglacial lakes, beyond fossils and ancient landscapes, lie stories that defy logic and challenge what we know. Among the most persistent legends is that of the Ningen, a creature that reportedly appears in the icy waters around Antarctica. Described as a massive pale white being with a humanoid shape, the Ningen is said to be up to 30 meters long. Witnesses from Japanese research vessels have claimed to see this strange figure rise silently from the water before disappearing again beneath the waves. Its face is often described as eerily human, with two small eyes and a wide, expressionless mouth. Some versions depict the Ningen with arms and hands. Others describe it more like a smooth-finned sea creature, barely distinguishable from the icebergs that drift nearby. The first modern mention of the Ningen appeared in Japanese online forums in the early 2000s, but the legend quickly took hold in popular culture. Some believe the creature may be an unknown form of marine life, perhaps a relic from a time when Antarctica was warm and full of life. Others go further, suggesting it may be intelligent, even capable of walking on land. There are even those who speculate that governments know more about the Ningen than they admit. But not all tales from Antarctica are about monsters. Some are far more unsettling. Throughout the 20th century, there have been accounts from explorers and scientists of strange sensations, feelings of being watched, of unseen presences walking nearby in the snow. The continent's long winters of complete darkness and extreme isolation create an atmosphere ripe for the paranormal. One of the most famous stories comes from Sir Ernest Shackleton himself. In 1916, during a desperate trek across South Georgia Island, he reported the sensation that a fourth member was walking with his small group, even though only 3 were present. Later, both of his companions confirmed they had felt the same. One of the most enduring tales dates back to the early 1840s. According to reports from the time, a British whaling ship named Hope was navigating near the South Shetland Islands when its crew spotted a vessel trapped in the ice. Upon approach, they discovered a schooner identified as the Jenny, frozen solid in the surrounding pack ice. What they found inside would mark the story as one of the most unsettling in polar lore. The crew of the Jenny was reportedly still on board, dead but frozen in place, upright at their stations. According to entries in the ship's logbook, the final message had been written by the captain himself. May 4th, 1823. No food for 71 days. I am the only one left alive. The Hope documented the discovery, but left the vessel undisturbed, locked in the ice. The Jenny was never seen again. Interest in Antarctica and its secrets has not been recent. Long before modern satellites and international treaties, the frozen continent captured the attention of explorers, scientists, and even the most controversial regimes of the 20th century. Among them was Nazi Germany. In 1938, Adolf Hitler authorized a secret Antarctic mission. The goal, on the surface, was resource-based. Germany, preparing for possible war, was searching for ways to reduce dependence on foreign imports. Whale oil, essential for producing margarine, soap, and other fat-based products, was in high demand. The expedition was organized quickly. On December 17th, 1938, the vessel MS Schwabenland left the port of Hamburg. On board were 82 men, a mix of scientists, naval officers, technicians, and one Nazi Party representative. Their destination was a vast unclaimed territory in Queen Maud Land, located between British and Norwegian sectors. Over the following weeks, the ship reached Antarctica's icy coastline and launched its two Dornier-Wal seaplanes into the skies. The aircraft surveyed enormous stretches of land, dropping aluminum darts marked with swastikas to assert territorial claim. The Germans called this new territory Neuschwabenland, New Swabia, naming it after the ship itself. In total, the expedition mapped over 600,000 square kilometers, significantly expanding the known geography of that part of the continent. Officially, the mission ended in February 1939, just months before the outbreak of war. The Schwabenland returned to Hamburg, carrying thousands of aerial photographs and geological observations. Much of the collected data was either lost in the chaos of war or remained unpublished for decades. Some documents surfaced only in the late 1950s. The rest, according to some researchers, may have been deliberately hidden. It is here that the mystery begins. For years, the 1938 to 1939 expedition was remembered as a short scientific mission with limited geopolitical consequences. But after the war, whispers began to grow. Questions were raised about what the Nazis truly hoped to find or build in Antarctica. According to post-war rumors, the real purpose of the expedition was to establish a permanent foothold on the continent, a hidden base far from the reach of enemy nations. This alleged installation, buried deep beneath the ice, would serve as a safe haven, research facility, or even a last redoubt for the Nazi elite in the event of defeat in Europe. The idea of secret Nazi bases beneath Antarctica may sound improbable, yet a few events fed these suspicions. In July 1945, just 2 months after Germany's surrender, the German submarine U-530 appeared unexpectedly at the Argentine naval base of Mar del Plata. The next month, another submarine, U-977, arrived under similar mysterious circumstances. The commanders gave no satisfactory explanation for their long journeys or what they had been doing in the South Atlantic. Some believed they had delivered high-ranking Nazis or valuable cargo to a hidden outpost before surrendering. To this day, no physical evidence of a Nazi base in Antarctica has ever been found. No tunnels, no abandoned structures, no hidden chambers carved into bedrock. But parts of Neuschwabenland, especially the Schirmacher Oasis, first spotted by the Germans, remain active scientific zones. The region now hosts international research stations, including those of Russia and India. The story deepened with Operation High Jump. In 1946 and 1947, the United States launched the largest Antarctic military expedition in history. Led by Admiral Richard E. Byrd, it involved over 4,700 men, 13 ships, and dozens of aircraft. Officially, it was a scientific mission aimed at training and mapping. But the scale and urgency of the operation sparked speculation that the U.S. Navy was responding to more than just geography. Some theorists suggest that Byrd's fleet was sent to investigate or eliminate a Nazi presence still active on the continent. From the outset, Operation High Jump was unlike any Antarctic expedition before it. The force was divided into 3 naval groups: Eastern, Western, and Central, each with its own aircraft and icebreaker support. Their goal was to map as much of the continent as possible using aerial photography and to test military equipment under polar conditions. The operation established a base known as Little America 4 and conducted extensive aerial surveys. By the end of the expedition, more than 1.5 million square miles of Antarctica had been photographed. However, it wasn't the photography that drew global attention. It was what happened behind the scenes and what Byrd may have encountered. According to the official record, Operation High Jump lasted from December 1946 to March 1947. But the mission was cut short, ending weeks earlier than scheduled. This abrupt departure gave rise to a wave of questions. Reports of damaged aircraft, unexplained losses, and unusual encounters fueled rumors that something had gone wrong, or perhaps something had been found. Among the more persistent theories is that the mission had a hidden agenda to locate a rumored underground Nazi base near the Queen Maud Land region. In the years following Operation High Jump, rumors began to circulate that Byrd had encountered something extraordinary during one of his reconnaissance flights. According to certain accounts, his aircraft entered an area that should not have existed, a temperate zone amid the ice, a landscape of green valleys and warm air. Some sources claim he saw not just a change in climate, but in reality itself, unknown flying objects in the sky, and even contact with beings from an advanced subterranean civilization. These accounts were not part of any official report, but in the 1960s, a document began to circulate, allegedly a secret diary kept by Admiral Byrd during the expedition. In it, Byrd describes an encounter with an aircraft unlike any he had seen before. His instruments fail. His radio is taken over. He is guided to a landing strip in a hidden valley. There, he claims he is welcomed by tall beings with luminous eyes and advanced knowledge. They take him to a city beneath Earth's surface, a place they call Agartha. Agartha is a mythical kingdom said to exist within the Earth itself, a concept tied closely to the hollow Earth theory. According to these beliefs, our planet is not a solid sphere, but a layered shell containing vast inner spaces, cities, and even oceans. The people of Agartha, sometimes called the Old Ones, are said to possess technology far beyond what is known on the surface, including vehicles that can fly without fuel and the ability to manipulate natural forces. According to the diary, the Agarthans warned Byrd about the growing danger of nuclear weapons and the direction of human society. They claimed to have observed surface civilization for centuries and feared its destructive potential. Byrd was told to return to his superiors with their message, a call for peace and balance, and then sent back through the ice. And yet, this document has never been confirmed as authentic. Some people think the diary is fake. They say Byrd never said anything like that himself, and there's no official proof that such an event happened. Still, the story lived on, helped by the secrecy around parts of Operation High Jump and some things Byrd said in interviews. In a rare interview published in Chile in March 1947, Byrd talked about how important Antarctica could be in the future. He warned that one day the US might be attacked from over the polar regions. Some people think this was his way of hinting at what he saw down there. On December 1st, 1959, just as the Cold War was beginning to heat up, 12 nations came together in Washington, D.C., to sign a treaty that would change the future of Antarctica. These countries, among them the United States, the Soviet Union, and the United Kingdom, had all been involved in scientific research during the International Geophysical Year of 1957 to 1958. What they signed was short in length, just 14 articles, but the agreement would soon become one of the most unusual and effective diplomatic arrangements in modern history. The Antarctic Treaty officially came into force on June 23, 1961. It declared that the entire continent south of the 60th parallel would be used only for peaceful purposes. Military activity was banned. So were nuclear tests and the dumping of radioactive waste. Scientific research was to be free and open to all signatories. Countries could not make new territorial claims or expand existing ones, and anyone conducting research had to share their findings with the world. At first glance, it all seemed like a noble effort, a way to preserve a unique environment for science and peace. Over the years, more countries signed on. Today, over 50 nations are part of the agreement. But it is exactly this sudden cooperation, at a time when many of these countries were otherwise in deep conflict, that has led some to question the true purpose of the treaty. The treaty was signed just 14 years after World War II. The Cold War was in full swing. The United States and the Soviet Union were competing in arms, space, and global influence. Yet, in the midst of this intense rivalry, these same countries somehow agreed to completely demilitarize the largest unexplored landmass on Earth. For some, that timing feels too convenient. And for theorists, it raises one central question. What exactly was happening in Antarctica that was so important? Today, Antarctica is not technically off limits, but access is strictly controlled. Only a small number of scientists are allowed to live and work there, and even they need special approval, training, and equipment. Tourists can visit, but only in specific coastal areas and under close supervision. The vast interior, covering millions of square kilometers, remains almost completely inaccessible. There are areas where aircraft are not allowed to fly. Certain regions are marked as off-limits due to environmental protection. Research stations can only be visited with permission. All of these rules are part of what makes Antarctica feel like a forbidden world. Some believe that alien technology lies buried under the ice. Others think Antarctica was once home to a lost civilization, perhaps connected to Atlantis or other ancient myths. There are even those who argue that governments are conducting secret experiments there, far from public oversight. The secrecy, the surveillance, the restrictions, all of it, in their view, point to the truth being kept from us. So here we are, after exploring pyramid-shaped mountains, ancient forests, subglacial lakes teeming with life, Nazi expeditions, secret military operations, and treaties that transformed the world's most remote continent into a controlled zone. If you're feeling both fascinated and unsettled by what we've covered, that's exactly the right response. What strikes me most about Antarctica isn't any single discovery or theory. It's the pattern. A continent that was once warm and green, now frozen. Ancient maps showing coastlines that shouldn't have been known. Military expeditions launched with unprecedented urgency. A treaty signed by Cold War enemies who agreed on almost nothing else. Restricted access that continues to this day. Each piece, taken alone, might have a rational explanation, but together they form a picture that's difficult to ignore. Is Antarctica hiding evidence of lost civilizations? Are there structures beneath the ice that would rewrite human history? Did Nazi Germany discover something that prompted massive Allied response? Are governments conducting secret research in areas we'll never be allowed to see? I don't have definitive answers. What I can tell you is this: Antarctica is not just a frozen wasteland. It's a time capsule, a biological laboratory, and possibly the keeper of secrets that could transform our understanding of Earth and our place in its history. Here's what I keep coming back to. Why would the world's superpowers, locked in ideological warfare, suddenly agree to completely demilitarize and restrict access to an entire continent? And more personally, when you look at satellite images of geometric shapes, perfectly aligned ridges, and doorway-like openings in the ice, can you honestly say with certainty that they're all natural formations? Share your thoughts in the comments. Have you looked at Antarctica on Google Earth? Have you spotted something that made you question what you were seeing? If you work in glaciology, geology, or Antarctic research, I'd especially love to hear your perspective on what's been found and what remains hidden. If this journey into Earth's last frontier resonated with you, I'd be honored if you'd subscribe to the channel. I explore mysteries like this not to promote conspiracy theories, but to ask questions that deserve answers and to examine evidence that challenges conventional understanding. And if you know someone fascinated by ancient civilizations, unexplained phenomena, or Earth's hidden places, share this with them. These conversations matter. Antarctica holds 90% of the world's ice. Beneath that ice lies 14 million years of history. And buried somewhere in that frozen time capsule may be answers to questions we haven't even thought to ask yet. The forbidden continent is slowly revealing its secrets. The ice is melting. Technology is advancing. And sooner or later, we're going to learn what Antarctica has been hiding all along. Thank you for exploring this mystery with me. Until next time, stay curious, question everything, and remember, the most important discoveries are often the ones someone doesn't want us to make. Keep your minds open